Hello, and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club podcast. I am Nathan Shields, and got my good buddy on the other side of the screen here, Will Humphreys. How you doing, bud?
What? Dude, I'm doing great, by the way, but I wish you had like an opening theme song that would like da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Nathan's guest Will. That kind of thing is so cool.
Oh, like a Johnny Carson thing with the whole big band and stuff. Doc Severinsen off to the side. That would be nice.
Yeah, and you could have like your wife Whitney in the background laughing at all your jokes.
Heather's better at that. Just going to dinner with you guys, Heather sitting off to the side and giggling, it just cracks us up.
She makes it too hard for me to actually keep my sense of humor because I know she'll laugh at anything, and I realize that like she does that because she loves me, but it makes me less funny over time, and it's really quite sad. I need to see a therapist about it, but I still don't care. I'm so needy for attention every time she laughs. I'm just like, that's right.
That's cool. Well, hey man, it's good to talk to you. It's been a few months. Over the last few months, we're going to get into a few topics here today because we have to revisit some things and follow up on some stuff. First off, last podcast episode was about recruiting and your program with Rockstar Recruiter. Let us know, what are you seeing now in the recruiting space? How are you doing things differently? What do you think? Is anything changing? Tell us about the program, if there's some updates on that as well.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to watch the evolution of working with companies across the country now. I've worked with over 25 in the last 8 months since we launched the program. It's been interesting to learn. And so one thing that's interesting to know is that there is a seasonality to recruiting, which I'd never thought of before, because I went from thinking it was impossible to do to never like thinking it was hard again after learning how to do it.
Right.
But for people who are in the mid-step journey of like figuring it out, there is this huge influx post-summer where most schools are graduating students that surges in a whole new flux of physical therapists into the economy, and it creates a less of a fear and a necessity. And so it was funny for me because I find this habit, this is the consistent cycle of people who join Rockstar. They join Rockstar because they just really want a hire or two hires. I convince them that what they really want is a full-time solution that they can work year over year.
Right.
They join the program, they learn how to recruit well enough to get one or two hires quick. And then I either don't see them on the calls again, or like there's a small percentage of people who just stay with it and then they build out their solution. So there's some seasonality to it, which is interesting. I think with inflation going up, I actually think there's been less of this discrepancy between what people are expecting for salaries versus what's getting. You know what I mean? Like beforehand, you have new grads who are coming out wanting six figures.
Yeah.
And now after the inflation in items like that, they're not coming out right now thinking anything in that regard. They're actually more wondering if they should even stay in the profession, which is a common thing I hear from the students that I mentor. So it's an interesting shift in that regard. There's a real question: should we stay in this at all? You know?
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said about the program, and people they get what they need out of the program and then they take off. But what you're really trying to promote is like, this is an ongoing thing that can help you forever. If you just put a little bit of juice on the fire every so often, you won't have to jump back into the pool all the time, learning how to swim, if you just keep the program going a little bit.
Yeah, that concept that you teach a lot from Jim Collins' Good to Great, the flywheel, where at first, when we're starting a new business, there's all this initial inertia that's required to create traction and get movement going. But when we learn systems and processes and these different skills as leaders, eventually the company starts getting so much momentum, it starts pulling us and creating this perpetual motion. And that's when people experience this enormous shift. The same goes for recruiting. And if you think about recruiting and marketing as the two sides of the coin we call business development, it makes sense that recruiting is like that flywheel that we have to put a lot of initial energy in. But what we don't know or know how to do or believe in is that once we get to a certain stage of inertia there and create a system that goes year to year, it's not work. It's about applying the principles in a organized, repeated manner, and it's not this like overwhelming task.
Right.
So that's part of the reason why your companies like ATI do so well recruiting, is that they understand this concept and they have built a system that just generates new hires. All the time.
And when you say system, you're talking about calendared, scheduled actions. right? On September 1st every year, we do this. And we know the graduates are coming out in May or June or July. So as of May 1st, we're going to ramp up recruiting to the schools. I mean, it's stuff like that you're talking about, right?
I feel like you've already done my program, because at the end of it, the very end of the program, that's the final product, is that you have this template that you fill in, and it teaches all the concepts you learn in Rockstar Recruiter, finalizes and accumulates into this Excel spreadsheet that you could hand to someone that says, this is how we recruit. And it's broken down into daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly activities. And the daily ones are no more than 15 minutes. Yeah. And once you get the quarterly ones established in routine, it's just like nothing. You just do it. But again, very few of my clients actually get to that point, because once they get a couple of hires, they're super freaked out about marketing now, or
onboarding them and training them. And we'll come back to that later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but for those who can stick with it, it's pretty awesome to watch. And this morning, another person got on Marco Polo, this app that we use, and was like, dude, I got another hire, and we're all freaking out. And I just love that. That's like the moment that we live for in Rockstar.
Cool. Before we hop off the topic, if people want to check it out, what's the website?
Oh, yeah. So I'll send the link. It's actually Unlock HBA. It's a subset of that. So I'll send you. So I'll send it to you. If you can put that in the notes of this, that would be great.
Yeah.
But just make sure you say that Nathan sent you. Nathan, you've been huge in helping this. So anyone who you send this way, I want to take extra care of.
So yeah, unlockhbasandboy.com/rockstar recruiter or something like that. But I'll put it in the notes too. No problem. Yeah. And then the other thing you shared with me recently regarding your own businesses, and I've been trying to get a specialist on here to talk about it, financial experts, and it's the ERC program, the employee retention credit that's being handed out to business owners who had employees through 2020 and 2021. They can apply for the employee retention credit and receive a significant amount of money because they stayed in business and they kept people employed through the lockdowns, through the pandemic, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about your experience, because there is a small minority out there of owners that haven't heard about it. I want you to look into it quickly. What was your experience? Oh my gosh.
So if you're listening to this and you haven't signed up for your ERC package, stop doing everything. Don't even join Rockstar until you get this going, because this is immediate money. And as a side note, it's a real reflection of how we're destroying ourselves as a country, because we are just printing money. and if you're not smart enough to take it while they're doing it, they're doing it anyway. There's an allotted sum of money that the government has pooled to help sustain and support businesses. In our network entrepreneurs organization, these are men and women who catch these waves quicker than PT owners typically do. So they've been doing it for the past 6 months. I have a friend, true story, who has a business. Now it's a slightly bigger business. His check was like 15 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's government money. 40%, Nathan, of all money in circulation right now was printed in the last 12 months.
That's crazy.
So inflation's crazy. It's going to get worse, but don't worry. Get in line, get your money, because it's going to go to someone else if you don't get it.
Right.
And so here's my story on it. Someone I know said, hey, have you done this? And I said, no. He says, don't be stupid. Here's my CPA. He did a text. The CPA texted me and said, hey, I'm doing this for a fee. You pay me 10% of what I determine you're going to be able to get now, or you pay me 15% after you get it. And so I said, let's do the 15% after you get it for me. I literally just gave him access into my payroll software. He generated everything that needed to happen. I had my personal CPA bless it first, so I didn't, get taken.
Right.
But I spent maybe 15 minutes on it altogether. I haven't gotten my money yet, but I've been pre-approved for a lump of sum of money I don't think I deserve.
Right.
But I will definitely use. I'm not going to, and I won't throw that into like a Tesla. I'm going to take that money and build these businesses and create bonus opportunities. But man, it's still going to be great. I'm super excited.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff that you can reinvest in yourself or the businesses that you have would be a blessing for sure. And the thing I want to note, and what I've heard from my financial advisors, is you're going to spend a little bit more for people who are quote unquote ERC specialists, and that's okay. They know the ins and outs. They know what boxes to check on the forms and how to extract the most amount of money for you. Leaving that up to a CPA or bookkeeper that hasn't really dealt with the forms before will lose you a substantial amount of money. My financial advisor at least said, hey, someone had their bookkeeper go through the forms and figured out that they were going to get an $18,000 credit. He recommended a specialist, went to the specialist and said, no, you're due for about $100,000 more than that.
Come on.
Yeah. So it's worth the extra cash that you might spend on a specialist.
In addition to that, I think with where we are now, like most of the world already knows about this. Yeah. So it might even be too late. So I don't think you have a choice. If you're listening to this and you haven't done it, I can leave. I don't know if you have a contact, I can put my contact in your show notes as well, but whatever. Reach out to the CPA immediately just for the sake of speed. Having that person jump on your account to get your money before it runs out is going to be key.
Well, there is a deadline from what I recall. Like you can only apply. There's a time deadline. There might be a money shortage, and like once it's gone, it's gone. But I know there's also a time deadline in that if you had employees in 2020, your deadline is the end of 2023. So if you're listening to this, I mean, we're in September, October of 2022. If you're listening in 2023 and still haven't done it, look into it. And then 2021 payroll has a deadline of 2024, supposedly. So either way, check it out with a specialist because it's more than worth it.
Yeah, just do it. Don't even worry about it. Everyone I know and respect is doing it. And Nathan knows and respect is doing it. It won't be bad.
Yeah, if everyone's doing it, it can't be bad, right?
Right. Everyone's doing it. What's wrong with you? This is going to be a shaming podcast where we shame people.
Are you so stupid
idiot?
you haven't done
It's
it
your
yet?
ERC money.
Exactly. All right. So we talked about Rockstar Recruiter. We talked about the ERC. Now, we have to follow up because about 9-10 months ago, we did an episode about PPS.
Oh, before we get to PPS, were we going to talk about virtual assistants?
Let's talk about virtual assistants. I don't care.
Because it relates to Rockstar.
Let's talk about it.
So I hired a virtual assistant to help me with Rockstar because in our program, I have a virtual assistant now that helps my clients get mailing lists to help run some campaigns.
Yeah. How long have you had a virtual assistant?
For 1 month.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's been, sorry to interrupt, but I was thinking that might be good just because it connects to the Rockstar piece. And it was really big for us to bring in this virtual assistant.
Yeah, please.
She's from the Philippines. She's $10 an hour, and she has completely freed up a massive chunk of my life in terms of not only does she help provide material for I'm able to provide additional benefits to my Rockstar Recruiter clients because she's out there actually doing some of the legwork of producing email lists and some other items that are creative based and helping people get started and launching their programs for them. But for me personally, man, it's been huge. She's been doing everything from helping me pick my wife's birthday presents and ordering those, down to setting up my travel, to creating PowerPoint presentations for if I teach online. Wow. She's been phenomenal. And I just real quick, I just have to say that's been a huge benefit.
So what made you decide to get a VA? Because you've had VAs in the past, even when we were partners in business. That was like a decade or more ago, right? What made you decide a month ago, okay, I need one, now's the time?
So the biggest thing was a coach of mine was selling it to me. He's like, look, because I told him I had worked with VAs before, and he goes, yeah, but you weren't good at creating processes then. Mm-hmm. And see, that's the key thing. People who just hire VAs are expecting the VAs to coach them on how to be used. Yeah. But the truth is you have to kind of know in advance what you would use them for. And then you have to be, so what I do, this is the whole process for people who don't know how to create processes. I look at my list of to-dos and I go, which of these things should I not be doing?
Right.
What are the things that I shouldn't be doing and who can do them? And the first person who comes to mind is Pat, who's my VA.
Okay.
So, what can Pat take on? And Pat can take on pretty much anything that can be done remotely that requires just a little bit of instruction. So what I'll do is I'll use a software called Loom, L-O-O-M,
mm-hmm.
that captures video and audio.
Right.
The screen share software. And I say, and it gives you 5 minutes. If I can't do it in 5 minutes, it means it probably needs to be done with multiple delegations.
Right.
But I'll say, so for example, tomorrow in Rockstar Recruiter, we're doing this really cool presentation on how to interview candidates for value alignment and long-term buy-in.
Okay.
And so what I created yesterday is an outline. It took me 20 minutes. I did an outline in Google Docs. I shared her on the link, and then I loomed and said, hey, Pat, I want the slides to have these colors. Here's what I want you to do for the slides that I want you to create. And it took me 2 minutes to delegate. And the next day I woke up to this amazing PowerPoint with like animation and levels of like professionalism I would have never put time into. That would have taken me hours, probably took her an hour.
Wow.
And that's it. And it's really cool. I use a software that shares passwords to websites that keeps them encrypted so that no one in between or her can't see the actual password.
Nice.
And it gives her access to my my travel information. It gives her access to like my Amazon account to order gifts. I'm like, hey, I'll give her a 5-minute delegation. Hey, it's my wife's birthday. She really loves cooking. So, I was looking at these kinds of knives, but I don't know, is there anything else you can find that you can create? And then she like presents 5 suggestions the next day. I click on one and then she orders it and gift wraps it and the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot to be said about having a VA in terms of helping. I'm leveraging mine to help my Rockstar Recruiter clients hire people.
Right.
It's just, there's a lot of applications, but you have to know how to delegate, and using the software is the best way to do it.
Just thinking about it would give me a little bit of angst, or, I could feel it inside of me, is that I'm going to have to get my crap together enough to be able to delegate. Right. And I think that's what would keep me from wanting to do, the idea is great. What you ideally want is a VA that thinks ahead for you of what your next move is going to be, like can read your mind. That's not going to happen. It makes me think the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, where he talks about if you're just busy, you're just lazy. If you're busy, you're lazy because you're not focused on your top priorities and delegating what is appropriate you shouldn't be doing. And that's where the hard part comes for me. And I think it might come for some owners as well who are seeing patients a ton, overwhelmed with too much, quote unquote, too much to do and all the fires to put out, that they have to actually sit down for 15 to 30 minutes and go through the exercise you just explained and create the process, right? So that effort right there, even though that 15, 30 minutes could save you 2 or 3 hours on the back end, could be initially kind of stressful, especially when you have the stress of this VA in the Philippines. I'm paying them and they're waiting for me to give them something to do. And I'm just like, I can't think enough to give you something to do. Just go find something to do. So do you see where I'm coming from?
Oh yeah.
Difficult for me and some owners. Did you have any of that?
I did the first time for sure years ago. And then I did initially with Pat at the beginning of the month. I had all these ideas. I didn't really understand what I'm talking about with you until a few weeks ago. Uh-huh. So I had her jump into, I just gave her whatever I thought I could just to keep her busy.
Yeah.
For the first week, which was I had her use this software that scrapes LinkedIn for emails. That's how we're creating email lists for our clients. If you're in Idaho, Pat will go through and find every Idaho physical therapist out there on LinkedIn and create an email list. And then she's going to later she's going to actually she's going to do the actual email campaigns for my clients, which is awesome. Yeah. But for now, I just gave her that because I didn't know what to do. But then I talked to my friend, my coach, and he was like, dude, you just got to look at your list of what you want to get done that day and then start delegating little by little to her. And then he's like, you can start opening, once you understand how to work together, you'll start building on that and you'll start exploring things that you never think about doing that you'll start giving to her. And that happened. That happened actually today. Yes, she has her own YouTube channel in my case. And as you know, I have a YouTube channel. And so I have her editing my videos. I'm going to start delegating that to her.
Ooh, that's huge.
And that is a big one. I'm already paying another company $300 a month. I pay her $1,000 a month for 20 hours of work a week. And so she'll be doing that in addition to lots of other things. Right. And so eventually what was really big for me, Nathan, honestly, was realizing that it's a mindset of organization versus coping.
Right.
And you know this, but I'm going to say it because maybe people who are listening don't. But in business as owners, we're only either organizing or coping. Coping is keeping any activity going that keeps us alive. Organizing is structuring the business so that it operates without us. Mm-hmm. And so to your point, once I started, and I've only been with her a month, but I've already, already the value has been realized. And that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is that after organizing my tasks into like, yeah, this is a 5-minute thing that's going to take me 10 minutes to teach her, but that 5-minute thing is every week. So it might take me 10 minutes to do this week, but then that's how many minutes over, how many hours over a year is that saving me? And then it's just little things. In the end, I've also seen what happens, Nathan, where this friend of mine who uses one, this virtual assistant knows his businesses so well now. He handles a high percentage of the emails that come in. So of course he unsubscribes from email groups that aren't helpful, but then there's a certain class of email that comes in that this person emails back. And some of those things are sales. So like people are like, hey, I'd like to get and learn more about it. This person knows the process of how to schedule that person on the calendar and sends them through an email chain of just like connection. And the whole time the owner shows up to that call being prepped by their VA. Right. Hey, this is your call this week. This is here's the exchange. Here's the valuable information you need to know about this person. I've researched them. This is what you need to know. And they show up with 5 minutes of prep time, showing up like they have done hours because their VA has done hours of work for that.
That's cool.
And yeah, it was neat. It was really neat. And he even asked me, he's like, hey, Will, if you want to see my VA in action right now, email me asking me for this handout that I give. And I emailed while we were talking, and I got an email back from him while we were talking, from his VA, but on his behalf, saying, hey, Will, thanks for your email. Here's that handout you asked for.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's
it builds.
Awesome. So going into it, I guess I'd have to just give myself some space. Like, this is a learning process. I'm not going to be perfect at delegating to a VA right off the bat. Give myself a couple months, give it some room to breathe, and just start throwing little things out there and figuring out the relationship. And the cool thing about those VAs is that it's pretty easy to interchange them. It might seem kind of callous, but yeah, you're going to interview a few, but there are plenty of people that are looking for work, and you can interview different ones and find better ones. We've used them in the past in the business, and it's been really nice to be able to transition from one to another if we're just not aligned and working well.
Totally. And there's a lot of companies that offer that. So you can go to Fiverr or Upwork and go find a VA. You can do that if you want. There's companies out there that train their VAs. And so my VA, I pay more money for than most. Right now I'm paying her $12 an hour, which isn't that cheap, but she was pre-trained on how to create processes. So what happens is, instead of I don't need to create a really creative, detailed process. I brain dump, and then she creates a process, and then she runs it.
Nice.
And the idea being is that she can delegate that to other VAs as we grow. This company that I use in particular, their average number of VAs per client is 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you can, and I just reached out. I've thought about hiring someone specifically for sales for me with my companies to handle 80% of the communication, building up to the final call with me. So I don't know. It starts to catch on. It's exciting. And again, it's very affordable. I mean, $10 an hour? Come on.
I know 2 owners that I work with intimately that their whole billing department essentially is VAs. That not to undercut in the black billing.
No,
but
please.
But these are singular practices that, they have a VA that does verification. They have a VA that does billing. They have a VA that does posting, and they swear by it. You have to have a lot of faith in that process, and you have to put your processes in place and train them appropriately. But they're not just doing billing. They're doing other things as well, as administrative tasks like you're talking about also. But there are a couple of PT owners that are using them to some great success.
I love the idea of people using VAs for billing. I really do. It's ironic since I own a medical billing company, but there's just, again, our wait list now for In the Black is in Q2 of next year.
Oh, wow.
Because most services suck. And so people ask me all the time, they're like, hey, should I outsource my billing? I'm like, it depends. If you have a good internal solution, don't.
Right.
If you have a good if you've already done the work of figuring it out, don't. Unless it's person dependent, then yeah, if you're worried about them leaving and then you being in a bad position, there's a waiting list for the good ones. The other idea is if you just want to create that with VAs, I think that's a brilliant idea. I'm selling people against my company, but there are so many, I know this for a fact, there are so many highly medically billing trained VAs that you could very, very easily figure that out. I mean, there's risks in that relationship, but whatever. Like it's another way for you to do your billing.
Well, it goes back to the same thing. It's not the problem with most billing and the management of billing services in-house or outsourced is that the owners don't know how to hold them accountable. They don't know the systems. They don't know the KPIs well enough to know if they're doing a good job. So whichever direction you go, it ultimately doesn't matter too much if you really don't know what the processes and how to measure the processes and hold those people accountable to expectations and what appropriate expectations are. Yeah, you still have to know those things. And that's the difficult part for most people when it comes to billing and collections.
Yeah, I agree. And it's why I think we have a successful business in that regard. And I've even thought, as far as what's funny is my partner and I, that you know very well because she worked for you as well. She and I have talked. We're like, man, it'd be really cool to be in a world where our company doesn't need to be in existence at all. Like for PTs to be able to have a system where they can get their cash. So that's the thing. Is like it's almost like physical therapy. I don't hold that secret trade of like self-care internally because lifestyles are getting what they are. People get injured. We need more physical therapy. We need more help in the physical therapy owner space for medical billing. And there's plenty of ways to cut that pie, but you have to know how to oversee it no matter what.
Yeah, if people are out there saying, well, what are those KPIs, Nathan, for billing and collections? They can reach out to you. They can reach out to me, right? We'll share it with you. And
maybe we should do a podcast all about like how to manage your billing. And we could just go through all the steps. I think we have.
Yeah, we have.
Okay. Like 2 years ago. Like if you listen to this podcast, you know how to manage your billing.
If you were smart enough, let's do some more shaming. If you were smart enough to listen to my podcast for the last 2 years, you would know those by now.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, we probably need to do it again so we could do a refresher. But it is, we did it. I can't remember when we did it. I think it was back when you started the billing company, which was when?
That was 2.5 years ago. We're coming up on year 3 now.
Was it 2019 or before the COVID?
So we launched it in February of 2020.
2020.
I just completely got that wrong. So we launched it in 2020 on February 1st.
Okay.
So what is that?
Right before COVID.
Yeah, we're coming up on we're coming up on our 3rd year. We're 2.5 years in.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so I know we did one right about that time. It might have been just before COVID or soon after we just did that. I did a mess of COVID related podcast episodes for a few months there, but it was somewhere around probably in 2020 that we did.
Okay.
Entirely like that. What are the KPIs? What are you looking at? How should you measure it? We talked about the AR aging report and those stats and that kind of stuff. So we might have to revisit it, but if people don't want to go back and listen to the episode, they can always reach out to us.
Yeah, and I don't know if people even want to listen to it. It is boring. We'll make it fun. I think you know me, I get excited about that stuff, but I can see someone driving in the car learning about accounts receivable killing people because they fall asleep at the wheel. So we'd have to make it really fun, just like swear and like tell an appropriate joke.
Maybe we have to throw some in there if we need to. Yeah. Something like that.
We need to start swearing in general a lot more. We should shame our audience more.
All right. Well, speaking of, we've only got a few minutes left because coincidentally, right after this, you're meeting with your VA. We just got off the VA topic.
8 a.m. in the Philippines means it's time for Will to delegate.
Nice emphasis there. So last thing, 9-10 months ago, we talked about, essentially we're screaming at people to plan on going to PPS, the APTA's PPS conference in 2022, which is in Denver, first part of November, first weekend in November, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you're planning on going still, right?
Oh yeah, dude, I got a booth. We're doing breakfasts. We're doing dinners. Like I am all over that PPS. I'm excited this year.
Cool, man. I'm excited to see your booth there too. So I'll be there as well. But the main idea behind this today is just say, okay, if you haven't registered, just go to PPS. Even if it's a matter of showing up for some, to get some CEUs, maybe go through the convention hall, see what new products are there. It's an investment in you and your learning and your business but it also sets you apart that's what business owners do. Business owners network, business owners go to conference, business owners get value out of these things every time they go, and it separates you out of the clinic and it puts you in the owner seat. How often, if you're one of the owners that is treating a significant amount of time and you're not taking the time to act like an owner, then your business is probably just floundering, languishing, right? We're screaming it from the rooftops, do things like this on a regular basis so that you can actually be an owner.
Yes. You were getting really close to shaming. I was smiling because I'm like, man, he's almost there. I'm like, you're an idiot if you don't go to PPS. and guys, we're not saying that, we're not trying to take a stance on the APTA at all. No. I think there's a lot of great people in it. There's a lot of debates around their effectiveness and stuff and how much we should or shouldn't support it, which is stupid because we should support it. But the idea is just that, like Nathan said, I think that's the most important thing, is that come meet me and Nathan. Come hang out with us. Let's talk about your problems. Let's talk about what we can do to serve you. And we're not talking about selling you. We're talking about building friendships, because at the end of the day, when we meet with other owners and we can connect and brainstorm solutions, it goes from being this overwhelming isolated experience to being an owner becoming this journey of fun and excitement. And you have to leverage we have to leverage these opportunities to get out of our practice. So right now, people who are listening to this are like, yeah, but I've got so many patients, or I don't know if my boss would let me go. It's like, come on. There is literally nothing that is better for your business, your mental sanity, and the industry at large than us organizing, coming together and talking about the bigger problems. And we can't get to the bigger problems till we solve the smaller, more immediate ones that are keeping you from feeling balanced as an owner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's in these conferences, and that it follows along my mantra. And I haven't expressed it a lot on the podcast recently, but it's the reach out, step out, and network, right?
I love
You've got to reach out to other people in your industry, because that you can definitely feel alone on an island in your activities as an owner. You've got to reach out. You've got to step out of your business to work on the business and see it from a higher perspective, a 30,000 foot perspective, if you will. And then you also have to network. So much leverage can be made against your network to move you along in your personal and professional business career. Like the mantra said, like the slogan says, your net worth equals your network equals your net worth, right?
Yeah.
And so the higher valued network that you have represents your net worth. You're going to have higher value as well as you make those connections. So going to a conference like this meets all those criteria that successful owners do. This is a successful action that owners in all industries do, that is replicable, very easily replicable. And I love how you said that it's best for our industry as well. We need to be sharing successful actions. We need to be sharing best practices, and we need to come together to consider what the solutions might actually need to be in order to come our collective issues.
Yeah, it's so true. It's such an amazing experience to go network. I have a friend in my network named Chris, and Chris is wildly successful with a business that's outside of physical therapy. And I asked him once, I said, where is the secret sauce to your growth and success? Because he had grown exponentially for a while. And we're not talking about a small company of just 1 or 3 million. This is a massive company. And I said, what was your secret? And he goes, hey, well, have you ever read the book Never Eat Alone? And I said, no. He goes, neither have I. He goes, 5 years ago, I saw the cover of that book and I went, yeah, I got it. And he scheduled every day a lunch. Every day he scheduled a lunch. And the lunches were for people that he wanted to learn from, people he wanted to serve and mentor, people he wanted to get mentoring from. He did that every day. And he told me this cool story once about how one client, one of those lunches resulted in $400,000 of income to him. And it was someone that he didn't think he was going to get any value from in terms of a business sense, but it was someone cool who was just doing something different. He wanted to learn about it. And that guy, 3 months later, had a good friend of his who was in an industry that would be serviced by my client's company. And he was telling him he was looking for this type of business. And he's like, yeah, this guy I had lunch with 3 months ago was amazing. He put him in contact, $400,000. So our network is our net worth, and it doesn't take much. And it's so funny because that's stuff that we feel like we don't have time for we got to treat our patients. Dorothy's hip will be waiting for you when you get back from PPS. It will be there with all the Bengay and all of the smelly goodness will be waiting for you. But the PPS is once a year, baby. You got to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So I love being that drum again, because it's something that people, of course, they need to plan for, schedule out, that kind of stuff. But it's important that they take the time to do so. And coming away from it you can't go expecting to be entertained. Like, okay, I'm here. Now show me why I'm supposed to be here. When I go to conferences, I like to go with some goals in mind. Like, what exactly do I want to get out of this? Whether it's 1, 2, or 3 things. What are some of my goals for this conference? What do I need to do to make this a successful trip for me? And then work my experience around that. So it does become valuable.
You reminded me of another good friend of mine in my network named Dallin. He every time he goes to an entrepreneur organizational event, he just had one 2 weeks ago. He gets the guest list, which you guys can get for PPS, and he researches people that he wants to ask to lunch and dinner and breakfast, or like a 15-minute discussion. So like he'll reach out to these 5 or 6 people and just have this amazing connection. And one of those people about 5 years ago was a guy by the name of Jordan Peterson, who many people here may not know, but he is a very popular author and thought leader in our country right now, in the world. He's a massive thought leader. And so he met with Jordan Peterson 5 years ago and had lunch with him.
What?
And he was like, dude, it's like insane. And like, in our industry, the Jordan Petersons might be your Vinads, or might be your, these men Blaine Steinmack. That's the other, those 2 are the 2 names that always come to mind first.
Right.
They're just these amazing like leaders that are so cool that like a lunch with them will change your trajectory immediately. Like, and yeah, you'll have a lot more money, but again, like the learning of what we do at work becomes who we are at home.
Right.
And that's the whole point of this whole stupid thing called business, is that, yeah, we've got to put food on the table, but we have a chance to do it in a way that changes our leadership to where we become better mothers and fathers, parents. Like, all these things are universally applicable. And by learning these rules from incredible men and women gives us a chance to be better human beings across the board.
Right.
It's just awesome.
Yeah. Amen. So,
amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. So I know you got to jump off. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Through you. I would love it if anyone wants to talk to me about, Rockstar Recruiter, or like the In the Black medical billing. Just remember, In the Black, we've got a 6-month waiting list at this point. It's actually almost 8. But still, reach out early if you're interested in learning more about that. Or if you just want to pick my brain on something, reach out to Nathan first and let Nathan do the intro. Yeah. I want you to be that gateway. So yeah,
I can be your VA for such things.
Yeah, that's funny. I appreciate you doing that.
No problem. Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll be in touch. This will be coming out in October. If I don't see you between now and November, of course, we'll be meeting up at PPS, right?
Yeah, happy Physical Therapy Month if that's the case. By the way,
that's right.
To do a show on that. I think it'd be really fun to do like a physical therapy. We did a training this morning with about 10 companies on like how to leverage National Physical Therapy Month to generate new patients.
Right.
And it turned into this like tearful mess about people, how much they love physical therapy as an industry. That'd be kind of fun. I don't know.
Totally. Oh, I love it. Yeah, we have content for episodes planned out as well.
Yeah.
There's National Physical Therapy Month or State of the Industry. According to Nathan and Will, we have that kind of stuff that we can talk about as well.
Love it. Dude, thanks again for the opportunity to be on this podcast. It's just because we're close. It's never lost on me on this incredible opportunity to be able to serve your audience together.
Well, it's always good to have you on, man.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.